Sunday morning. I've got my orange juice. I've got my newspaper. This is the morning after the game before. So we've all had time to digest it, take it in. West Ham 0, Man City 5. This is a new feature that we're starting on West Ham Fan TV, where we have a chance to have a look at the replays, read the newspapers, drink our orange juice, eat our breakfast, and really digest what was going on the night before, the game before. Once I've watched Match of the Day, I've watched the highlights, and I'll be honest, it's not pretty. It's not pretty viewing. The defence looked even worse on replay than it did in real life. And I know that takes something doing when you've just seen your team get pasted 5-0. First goal, we played well for 25 minutes. Haller was getting into his stride. He barely lost the ball. He won, he was chesting down, bringing people into play. Proper centre forwards play, which I was quite pleased with. He looks to be someone that sort of glides. Do you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of a Freddie Canute. The way he holds up the ball and brings other people into play. The problem is, now, I didn't see too much of West Ham's attacks yesterday. There wasn't too many, to be honest. The problem is, he's a player, when you look at him for his team last year, that brings other people into play. Now, we got stuck between a rock and a hard place yesterday with Manchester City. We didn't know whether to attack or defend. For my money, if you're going to look, I think that's the last 5 times they've come here now. It's been 4-0, 5-0, 4-1, 4-0, 5-0. Go at them. They're not going to be expecting it. We seem to be playing into their trap, really. I think we give them far too much respect yesterday, especially watching the replays. I mean, some of the, when you're getting into the later goals, the 3rd, 4th, 5th goal, just too much respect, just letting them have too much time on the ball, and you can't let a team like Man City, and especially a player like Raheem Sterling, have that much time and that much respect. The 3rd goal was worrying. The 4th goal was a mistake by the goalkeeper. The 5th goal was also worrying, to be quite honest with you. And the thing that worried me the most is just the gaps in the defence. I mean, the 3rd goal, the Raheem Sterling 3rd goal, there was a gap. There was about 5 players in front of the ball. 2 got drifted that way, and 1 tried to step up. I think that was Fredericks, and that was worrying. The gap he had just had to run into, and then the time he had just to bring it down, look at what Fabianski was doing, pick his spot. I mean, it seemed like an eternity when I was in the stadium, but when I look at on replay, it looked even worse, to be honest with you. Just the gap, an old-fashioned centre half just gets in that little gap there and checks Sterling as he goes, just to make sure he knows he's there, so he knows he ain't got enough time. We've seen Raheem Sterling. Listen, Raheem Sterling's a world-class player, but we see he can fold under a little bit of pressure, and that's what we didn't do yesterday. We never put enough pressure on him. We never body checked him enough, to be quite honest with you. And that's how you got to play a team like Man City. You've got to get physical with Man City. The papers, quite obviously, are ruining us. Big talk this morning is VAR. Look, decisions were made correctly yesterday. Let's be fair. The 5th goal, there was a bit of question mark because Haller was definitely fouled in the build up to the goal. But I'm confused, and I'm at a wit's end to know how far back they're checking and all this sort of stuff. And Pep's, he was on the end of one wrong decision and a few right decisions. One decision that's gone against him, not wrong in his eyes, obviously. They obviously all the right decisions, but he's saying quite clearly it's a passion killer. It's a killer for the English game. I mean, the amount of stops and starts, we'll see it drift out eventually. Like, I don't think we'll see as many sort of like retakes of penalties and things as time goes on. But yeah, it's frustrating watching it. Well, most football fans will agree. You'll have a couple of changes of opinions when, VAR, look, VAR wasn't never going to stop us from losing that game yesterday. We was going to lose it regardless by the looks of the performance. But when you see teams sort of like picking up points where normally they wouldn't, or when you see teams winning games when normally they wouldn't, it might start to change opinion a bit. But at the moment, that game yesterday was the epitome of what I was worried about when it was first introduced. It was just like big gaps in play. Sterling, if I'd have looked at that in real time, without the lines, without all of this sort of stuff, even on a replay, I would have turned around and said that was a goal. You know, it's the ones like Liverpool last year that should be getting reviewed. You know, when the guys like when Milner was a yard offside, you know, a shoulder length offside. You know, can he score with his shoulder? Probably. Was he that much offside? I'm still not convinced he was offside, and that was a decision that went for us. I thought, do you know what? When I looked at the replay, this is how confusing it was, because when I looked at the replay, it's showing like still images, and I'm looking at Jesus in the middle, and I thought he was like 20 yards offside or whatever. It was just so confusing to me. Like, people in the comment section are going, yeah, but it's on the screen and all that. When you're in the stadium, you really don't know what's going on. It was a tough game to watch, and that worries me a little bit. I still think we've got enough in our tank. I still think we've got enough attacking prowess. Pellegrini needs to start to work on plugging the defence, plugging the gaps between attack and defence. We're like a book, you know, we're all together at the start and we started to attack. It's like the book page turns and that page turns that way. We're just so far apart. We've had this problem for years now, and you look at the way Man City play. Now, I'm not saying we're going to play like the way Man City play, but they do everything as a unit, and we don't seem to do everything as a unit. I think effort levels were a big thing yesterday. You need to, you know, die for the cause when you're playing a team like Man City. You need to run yourself into the ground, and I don't think a lot of players did that yesterday. Look, that's just my opinion, you know. Everyone's got their own opinions. Let's have a look. I sent out a tweet this morning. So we've had time to digest it, sunk in. What do you now think of the 5-0 defeat by City? Leave your comments here with a tag the morning after. Nobody's left a comment with a tag the morning after. It makes it easier for me to find them, but I'm going to read them out anyway. Stevie Taylor, agree, first half was okay. Never looked in real trouble, but never really looked threatening either. Haller showed some great touches, but like the rest of the team, faded out. It seems the old age problem of being the unfittest team in the Prem is still there. Need vast improvements. Gio Mackie says put a little bit more pressure on us next weekend, but thought we did well in the first half. However, Antonio's sub helped them more than us. That was a crazy decision to sub him off. I think he was giving Walker a little bit of a rough time. It could do with shooting more, even if it's from outside the box. Fredericks needs to learn to cross. Some positives, some negatives. I do agree with that. There was some positives in the game yesterday. The negatives far outweigh the positives, though. And Afton agrees with him. All the fullbacks need to learn to cross. Cresswell okay from corners, but when the ball is in play, he's lost it. Zab a waste of time in every aspect except work rate. Masuaku can cross better than the rest, but is he a fullback? West Ham Ron, move on. If we beat Brighton, it will be a different, distant memory. M's sloppy second half, but regardless, that harsh scoreline doesn't reflect our work rate for the most of the game. Mike Dean's decisions went against us. Do you know what? He also conveniently did see Rodrigo's foul on Haller. A lot was made of VAR yesterday, but we didn't. I think that sort of detracted from the fact that the referees deserved criticism, because Mike Dean, I think that, to be honest with you, I'm sure most football fans will agree, Mike Dean's an awful referee. He's a person that wants to make everything about himself. I think he's biased against the big teams, and I don't think it's any coincidence that Mike Dean firstly takes the first Manchester City game of the season. Ridiculous referee, absolute atrocious decisions yesterday. The niggly fouls from the Man City players. which I wouldn't normally complain about. Fair's fair. If it's consistent, it's consistent. The niggly fouls from the Man City players. Every time we tried to form an attack, they was breaking us down. A lot of shirt tugging, a lot of pulling back, a lot of kicking backs of heels, kicking backs of Achilles, and things like that. Some got pulled up, some didn't. The ones that got pulled up weren't punished, even though they was consistent. Rodrigo done it many times. Yet 2 West Ham tackles, probably the only 2 hard tackles that came in, yellow cards. Poor referee. But I think VAR detracts from the refereeing decisions, and I think VAR is going to be a conduit for sucking up a lot of the pressure from the referees. They're going to hide behind it a little bit. Mark, first 30 minutes were promising, but we couldn't be losing 5-0 at home, regardless of who we're playing. Just hope we can turn in a performance next week so we can put this behind us. I agree, mate. 5-0, just losing to them 5-0 all the time. Like, I know they're a good team, but I was quite confident that we were going to give them a game this time. And for the first half an hour or so, we did. First half we did really. We closed them down in spaces. We got the ball off of them in dangerous areas. The difference between a team like West Ham and a team like Man City is that when they got the ball in dangerous places, they make it count. And we couldn't make it count. Just misplaced passes, maybe a little bit of rustiness. Give them the benefit of the doubt of that. But somebody said it yesterday, word of the day, capitulation is quite worrying. Dave Bennett, embarrassing. Regardless of how good City are, we should never be losing 5-0 at home. Season starts next week, yeah. I remember saying that 5 times last year. And when we lose 2-0 with Glenn Murray getting a standard goal against us, we're going to be like, says Scott Thomas. CJ Everett, new season, same old West Ham. RJM says, this morning 5 seems harsh. We looked very good early on, so something very positive to take away. We have a clutch of new players who need more playing time together. Until they're working as a solid unit, I'm optimistic for the rest of the season. And Forever West Ham says, awful result. Started really well, but then our weakness at left back was horribly exposed. That's what a team like Man City do. We can see it as normal football fans and football punters. People that are paid to analyse how they're going to beat football teams. They're going to expose it tenfold. It was horribly exposed when they scored, after which we fell apart. Second half, we sat back and allowed them too much time. We need another win against Brighton and Hove Albion. We can't afford another season like last season. Thank you very much for joining us on this morning after the game before. I'm going to try and get 5 positives and 5 negatives out of that game if I can, and post that a bit later on. But for now, enjoy your breakfast. Roll on next week, I suppose. Come on, you irons.